July 2017.
Have a motion?
I'll
Do we have a
second that.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining?
I abstain.
Kathy abstains. The minutes are approved. The next item is the appearance of interested citizens, and we have nobody that signed up to speak tonight. So we'll move on to the council liaison report. Councilor Freeman.
Oh, I'm early. The only thing, I just have a couple of things that came up from National Night Out, and I have not emailed Sergeant Winning, so he's hearing this for the first time. And he may already know, but when I was on a couple of my neighborhoods, speeding came up. And so one is on 5th, and I'll be sure to send you an email too. And the other one is Park Meadow to River Road. And then drag racing on River Road at night. So, and that's from a homeowner that lives pretty close to, on the corner of Park Meadow and River Road. That was all I had. And then I have Eclipse glasses, if anyone needs them, and they're $2 a piece, and the money benefits the Parks Foundation. And then if you haven't seen it, they're also selling these fabulous Eclipse t-shirts that were made at McNary High School, and they're $15. So, which you know, that's coming up here relatively soon. And then Monday, the 14th, is our council work session, but we will be touring and then assisting at the Kaiser Community Food Bank. So anyone's welcome to attend with us if anyone so wishes. That's all I have. Thank you.
The next item is the Parkway Bike Trail signage activity, which is Hirsch and I have been working on off and on, but we don't have any progress on that for this month. So please leave it on the agenda, and we'll eventually proceed some more. And update of Kaiser bike routes. I think it was in some email that Hirsch has mapped out a couple of them and sent them. Hasn't sent them. Okay, so he's mapped them, but we still need to send them. And then, how will those be posted on the city's website?
Well, it depends on how he sends them to me. If they're links to the GPS website, then I will just post a link. If he has a title for them, I can put that. Maybe just make, right now, I think on the website we have some, and I think it's a page with a lot of different titles.
It's kind of a much older format, yeah, I think.
Yes, and if those replace those, then, I'll do that, but if they don't, then I'll just add to them.
Okay.
Unless somebody has a different suggestion, I'm open to suggestions.
Any discussion or suggestion? Okay, nothing from the group right now, but I guess maybe once we get a few of them up there, we can kind of see what looks good, what format looks good, and what presentation. Okay. Going to number 7, which is the committee projects. First one being the bike repair station, which we celebrated the complete installation of one right here at the Civic Center last month. And I guess I would turn it over to Kathy to make a few comments about if we're going to have any other celebrations with some of the, like with chariots and so forth.
Yeah, Hirsch was anxious to have more, maybe more formal dedication and get some chariots folks there too, which I think would be great. We'd like to have a picture on the chariots website too. So I put Bill Lawyer's office in touch with Patricia Feeney at Chariots, who's their public relations person, to try to schedule the appropriate people. Haven't heard back, but I'm hoping that that'll happen in the next couple weeks. Maybe we can get the Statesman Journal there too, and maybe even another picture in Kaiser Times. But this is the first time I've seen it since I was gone on vacation when it was installed, and it looks great. Really looks nice.
Okay. Second one under the committee projects is the promoting bicycle-friendly business designations. And Wayne, do you have any news on that?
Well, nothing new, but what we did talk about last time was contacting city, our Chamber of Commerce, seeing if we can get a presentation at the chamber to promote bicycle-friendly businesses. There's a short video that they watch, and there's about a $35 fee. They need to provide a safe place to park bicycles, either a bike rack or it could be a building, a secure building. So, but no, nothing new.
Okay. The next item says Building Better Boards invitation, and I don't know who's going to be speaking about that. Okay.
Don't have one of these information. This is something we're going to, that the chamber is doing here at the Civic Center. But we are giving them a room for free, so all of our board members are invited to attend for free.
Oh.
They do need to know whether or not you're coming because it is a dinner meeting. You'll be provided dinner. So if you decide you want to go, you can take these home with you and call me. Or if you know already, there's a sign-up sheet right here. I will be turning it in, I believe, probably on 18th. So you have until then to get your name in. Okay?
Until when?
Until the 18th, a week from tomorrow.
Oh, okay, okay, so this is happening in October, but we need to sign up soon. Huh?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I have a question. Has anyone done this program before, or do we have any recommendations of whether it's a good one or helpful? Anyone know anything about it? Are these folks from around here, or?
You can probably call the chamber. It's probably the chamber
Cha-
function.
okay.
So they would be able to answer all of your questions. And also, if you wanted to register later than the 18th, I'm not going to I will have finished all the board meetings by then. So, but you could call them and add your name to the list.
Oh.
After that.
Okay.
It sounds like the two people, Kirk Carvey and Catherine DeYoung, they both seem to have some varying experiences in the area that they're going to be discussing. I would think it would be good. Except for this two-headed lady here.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. That brings us to the committee member input, and maybe we'll start down at with David on this end.
Yeah, I've got I don't know if anybody else received an email from Kaiser Fire District. They're having their fall open house and safety fair October 9th. It's a Monday. Normally, well, I've gone forever, it seems like. And we sell helmets and give out the bicycle safety information at that. And unless we didn't, when we get closer, I'll probably ask for somebody to help out. But other than that, unless anybody has some objections, I assume we would or at least I would go and represent us. Any of you are welcome to do that. Yeah.
What's the date again?
October 9th,
9th.
Monday.
And the name of it?
6:30 to 8:30. It's the
Safety.
Kaiser Fire District's open house and safety fair.
Okay,
And it's
safety
National Fire Prevention Week. So there's usually quite a few outfits show up. Sometimes there's a whole lot of people there and sometimes not quite so many, so.
Is it at the fire station?
Fire station, yeah. Usually we set up and sell helmets, give or sell helmets. So that's put everybody on warning about that, so.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Chair Fisher, can I ask David a question? So David, have you heard if Lake Point Community Church is doing their event in September? And you know how we've always They've purchased helmets for us to fit and hand out. Have you heard anything about that? Okay, when you brought that up, that just made me think of that
Yeah, I was
event,
thinking,
so,
right, haven't heard from them.
okay, thank you.
It doesn't take us, I mean, doesn't take us long to do it, so.
Okay. That's a great event as well, and usually we run out of helmets,
Yeah,
what, in an
after about
hour?
2 hours,
2
yeah,
hours,
at the
yeah.
most, yeah. I forgot how many they bought. It was like 50 or something, but it went quick.
Yeah, thank you.
Kathy?
Yeah, a couple things. One, to segue to that last comment, if I see kids riding their bikes down the street, 8 or 9-year-old kid without a helmet, I mean, I can say, hey, kid, where's your helmet? Or is there some place that I can direct him to get a helmet? I mean, or just you have to buy them? I mean, there's
So
any,
if you direct them to the police department, Ron at the front count, actually, we've done a little shakeup in the front once we lost Lori Phillips. So all 3 of our office staff up front have a small form with her Shankster's phone number on it. And what
Okay.
they do is you give them that form, and it talks about, it requests a $5 donation to help offset the costs. It has his phone number on there. And we've done away with just letting kids come in and get helmets because they walked away without it being fitted. So now Hirsch takes the time, he makes an appointment, they meet wherever, and he fits the helmet, attempts to collect the $5 donation, and then the kid goes away, child or adult for that matter.
okay.
We
good.
both, or he'll call me and I'll run down and do it. We usually meet somewhere like in the parking lot, in front of the police station or at the skate park.
So there's some forms in the police department, police station here?
Yes,
Okay,
they're
good.
just,
I'll grab a few of those, yeah. Okay,
and if you don't find them, ask the front counter if they don't have any. I mean, I can email you the form,
okay. I can
because I've got it
remember.
electronically, and you just print it off, and then you just cut it in half,
Yeah,
makes 2. I can.
thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know, did anyone talk about the transportation bill, the package last meeting?
No.
I'm not sure it was even passed yet. But as you probably know by now, the state legislature passed the transportation bill with a lot of new money, some of it specifically for bicycle and pedestrian use. Of course, they're paying for some of that with a $15 charge to bicycles, adult-only bicycles over $200, which is fairly reasonable, I think. As long as that.
For new bikes.
For new bikes, right. As long as that money actually goes to bicycle facilities. And I think, from what I can tell, the bicycle and pedestrian money is going to go into the Connect Oregon Fund. And depending on how much they get in that fund, 7% is going to be dedicated to bicycle and pedestrian transportation projects, provided that the projects expand or improve commuter routes for non-motorized vehicles and pedestrians. But, so that's something that the city might want to keep in mind for the future, is there will be some money available for bicycle routes. And I think that the additional revenue may not be subject to that. The additional $15 excise tax may not be subject to those restrictions, that they have to be for commuter routes. ODOT can also request up to $2 million a year from state parks and recreation for pedestrian and bicycle projects, in addition to the 7%. So there's quite a bit of money there dedicated to non-motorized travel, something to keep in mind, when we're looking at the next year's budget, next several years' budget. In addition, the new package provides $10 million for safe routes to school, which increases to $15 million in 2023, plus an additional 1% for bike and pedestrian projects on the highway system. So that safe routes to school money is to be used, there are match grants for projects within 1 mile of a school that serves students in pre-kindergarten through 8th grade or blah, blah, blah. The grants may also be used to improve sidewalks, crosswalks, bike lane, and traffic signals with a match of 40% from the city. But that's something I think we really should focus on for our Delight Street, because we still, I don't think, have a plan for how to finance a reasonable walkway on Delight Street, between those two, between the high school and the middle school, or the elementary school. And this might be one way we can come up with some funds to stretch local funds for that. So I'm really hopeful that some of this transportation money will trickle down here into Kaiser, and we'll get to make some good use of it. Of course, the transit district is just delighted because we've now got enough money for transit all over the state. We distribute all over the state, and the local Salem-Kaiser Transit District will have enough money for Saturday and Sunday service and later evening service and maybe even some other services. So this is a great opportunity for Salem and Kaiser to maximize our public transit system.
Kathy, do you know, does it say in there, I haven't read any details of that yet. When they say commuter routes, is there any clarification that you've seen on who decides what those are? 'Cause, I guess my question will be whether city staff would need input from this committee on what we would identify, what we would consider the most important bike commuting routes through Kaiser.
Well, one of the things that that ODOT primarily is going to be working on over the next 18 months probably is drafting administrative rules. Because this is just an outline and it's pretty big projects and pretty big issues. And until they get the administrative rules written and define what a commuter route is, we probably won't know. But I'm hoping that, and they say it's going to be a transparent, open process. They want a lot of public input. So I'm hoping that we all can keep in mind commenting on those administrative rules when they do come out. We should, occasionally, I get updates all the time from ODOT, so I can remind people too if it comes up. But those are the kind of things that administrative rules will have to flesh out over the next few months. Because this money, of course, isn't going to be coming in. We won't have the money for a while anyway. The transit money doesn't even start until next summer. I'm not sure when the bicycle tax and the fuel taxes go up. Vehicle registration fees raise. But, that money's not going to be here in 3 months or even 6 months. It's going to be a little while, a process. But, the future looks a little better for transit, I think, and for bikes and pedestrians. And then the only other thing I want to say is I was out working in my yard yesterday morning, and for about 45 minutes, I live in kind of a quiet street, 45 minutes, 3 cars went by and 21 bicycles. And there are only two pairs. I mean, those were, 18, 17 individual groups of bicycles. I thought, yeah, this is great. If you provide a place for people to feel safe and want to ride, they will do that. And not all of them were just recreational bicycles. Some of them clearly were going to work or coming back from work or something.
Yeah.
But, so I thought that was pretty cool. That's all.
Okay. Next is Wayne.
Thank you, Pat. I've been a little busy with Steam Up this last 2 weeks. The Salem Kiwanis Club did breakfast and lunch for 2 weekends in a row, and so I haven't done a whole lot of other things. I have safe routes to school planned for 7 elementaries and 2 middle schools, and there are Word documents now that need to be converted into internet links. Long time ago, I wrote native HTML. I have a vague memory of how to do that. I know. Yeah.
You can make a PDF.
Yes, sure. Sure, let's do that.
I know that's what we do, that's all we use.
So well, I could send them as a PDF. I can change my Word documents to a PDF.
That's easy, yeah.
Very good. That'll help move that process forward. Thank you, Debbie.
Wayne, what you sent me, is that the finalized draft or the finalized copy? If so,
For
or
3
if-
of them, it's finalized. The others, I could fine tune a little bit more.
Okay, so when you get done with that, not only send it to Debbie, who will probably send it to me anyway, and then I can facilitate getting that into the information in newsletters in the schools, in
And
addition to,
And the school websites.
and getting it on the school website. I don't know the rules for Salem Kaiser School District as far as what they can and cannot post, but I would imagine that that's probably pretty safe to say that they would post that. And so I work with the 7 elementaries, and I know my guys would work in the
2 middle
older,
schools.
the secondary schools to get that in there, so.
Okay, very good.
And had you sent all of our committee, I know you sent us some earlier ones, have we seen the,
No, you
Yeah,
haven't
that's
seen them. I've sent them to Hirsch, and I've sent some of them to Trevor.
oh, okay.
Probably send them to the whole committee to review.
Okay. I was doing one other thing. The Peach of the Century is coming up August 27th. I happen to be the coordinator for that also.
What's the date on it?
August 27th. It doesn't go
Right, the Peach.
does not go through Kaiser. It'll be going through Silverton, Staten, Jefferson City. And so I'm just finding volunteers to help me set up rest areas. I'll be setting up 3 rest areas, working 1, taking down 3. That's my job.
August 27th.
That's all I have.
Okay. On my part, I guess in the minutes from last time was that I had spoken with the Parks Board about a particular situation in my neighborhood, and that Kaiser Public Works did promptly go out and make some changes there, but I'm going to have a meeting, I guess, set up with Bill Lawyer to discuss it and see about maybe a little bit more modification of what they did. August 2nd was the official grand opening of the Peter Courtney Bike and Ped Bridge to Minto Island Park, and I went down and attended that and heard some of the speeches, and so that was a nice turnout there with many of the agencies and happy people involved and parading over the bridge and everything. So that's not in Kaiser, but that's kind of I think it's a really important asset to our whole larger community, the fact that we can ride a bike down there and go across both bridges and so forth, and a great thing to take. You got visiting friends or relatives. It's a great asset to take them and show that off. The Hirsch Sangster has been taking the lead on updating our city's proposal for bicycle-friendly community, the designation from the League of American Bicyclists. And Hirsch and I had 1 or 2 meetings to kind of fine-tune the application. We found out we kind of have to redo it every year. We can't just send an amendment of what's new and different. But so we went through the application and added things where we could and clarified things where we could and improved them. And so we have a close to final version of that. And Hirsch will be meeting, I think, with Mike Griffin and with Bill Lawyer on Monday next week to finalize that so that it can be sent on behalf of the city and hopefully retain the designation we have, or maybe move up into the bronze level, we're hoping. I think that's all I have to report to the committee. I'll turn it over to Dennis.
Ongoing with the Kaiser Salem Senior Center, they're working on getting the parts for bike rack and then site preparation, and nothing further to report at this time. Hopefully I'll, in a few weeks, have a report that they've got it installed, so ongoing.
What kind of bike rack?
It'll be similar, I believe. We're looking to what's here at the City Hall,
Okay, nice.
same type.
So it's a bike repair station.
Not with the repair station, just the kind of the hoops going
Okay.
in the ground. They don't even have any place to lock bikes up there at the senior center. And so I think it'll encourage in time more people to ride there, and especially if they have a safe place to lock their bike. And I've talked to a number of people that they'd like to, but they've no place to put the bikes, so hopefully this will make a difference, especially for the future.
Good, thank you. John?
Hello. I have 2 things. First of all, I want to follow up with Kim on her complaint on speeding on Park Meadows. Can you tell us a little bit more about the tone of the complaint?
It was fine. When I do National Night Out, I always have a spiel that I give, and then I always say, what can we do at the city to make life better for you? And she said, can you help me with the speeding on Park Meadow? So she lives closer to Park Meadow and River Road. So Park Meadow is a pretty long, I don't know if you'd call it straight, Trevor, but I mean, it's a long, so they're coming, zipping Park Meadow to River Road. So, I mean, she wasn't angry by any means, just a concern of someone living in that neighborhood. And then she said it's really bad when school's in session because of all the schools right in that area. But, so it's, and I
Okay.
said I would pass it along. And I said if they're very concerned to please always come to this meeting as well to share any more information, but it wasn't contagious, or not contagious, but it wasn't confrontational or anything, just more of, hey, can you share this?
Okay, thank you. I'm somewhat familiar with that because I live off of O'Neill.
Okay.
So I turn on the Park Meadow and turn right on the O'Neill. And Trevor, about a month ago, maybe 2 now, there was the traffic speed trailer on O'Neill. Have we ever placed one on Park Meadow, and how would I go about requesting one to be put there? Thank you
Done.
for turning on the microphone.
Done. I can put it out there. Let me address that. In recent memory, we've had 2 speed surveys done out there through Mike and Public Works. And in both scenarios, as it was in other areas of the city, it's a perception issue that we have found. They're not speeding, but because it's not straight, when you come into those curves, 25 looks like you're doing 45. Same thing with the straightaways. If this committee remembers, Dykes, she was the crossing guard down for Clear Lake Elementary, and she was the one that got that ball rolling for us. And that was only within the last year and a half that we've done that. So I can do that once again. I already have it scheduled for the first week in September because Tara Baldridge is one of my school principals at Clear Lake, and that's one of my schools. So we just kind of have if we don't have another neighborhood that's already in the queue, it's already pre-planned for that area. So the radar reader board will be down there to address the O'Neill, since you mentioned you live off that. I had a gentleman come in last week or the week before, and we are going to put our new speed counters, our radar speed counter, out there on O'Neill to see if that is a perception issue or if it's a constant issue. And if it is, I was going to address this in my comments, but we do have that speed grant that I worked 3 hours today on. And that's exactly what that grant is designed to do, is to go out there. One, we need to know when. Once we know when, now we can plan our resources accordingly. So we'll have them out on Park Meadow, O'Neill. That's not a problem.
Great. It's really good to hear that that's going out there because that helps the community understand that the city is working on this. Your comments caused 2 follow-up questions. You mentioned a new radar-based speed thingy.
The counters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought that up last meeting or the meeting before last. You may not have been here, but the city purchased, we had a little bit of money left over in our budget. Not sure which line item it came out of, but the chief authorized us to purchase those so that we don't have to burden Public Works with going out there and doing that. It's something that I can install myself, and it's just a box that straps to a pole or some type of thing that we can that's already pre-existing or we install ourselves. And we set it up, and it will count cars both directions, give us the speed, and all I have to simply do is go out there with a thumb drive, plug it into the box, it downloads it, I take that, plug it in my computer, and there's a spreadsheet, and it tells me direction, speed, everything. So brand new, good technology. It works off Doppler radar. So I've been gone. Unfortunately, I haven't deployed it yet, but I do have the batteries charged, and O'Neill's our first place that we're going to test it.
That's great news. That's really good news. The second one is more educating me again. The definition of speeding, if I remember correctly, it's over, if a certain percentage is over a certain percentage of the posted speed limit. Is that, where am I here?
So you have a posted speed limit, so we'll use 25 miles an hour as an example. So from 1 mile to 10 miles over the speed limit. So if you're doing 26 and a 25, you're speeding. So up to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, it falls under a Class D violation. That's a $110 fine. From 11 to 20 is 160, 21 to 30 is 260, and then 31 and above is $435 violation.
So where I was headed with this, where I need help on, is the comparing actual speed as recorded by these counters with the perception issue of the community.
So if we have a particular individual that wants the counters out there, what I do, and I'm hoping I'm going to answer this correctly, but I bring them in. The last one we brought in was Ms. Crenshaw and her father that came in and testified off of Chehalis, or no, Newburgh Drive. And so when we got the counts in from Mike, he sent them to me. I brought Ms. Crenshaw in. We sat down and we looked at the 85th percentile. I called Mike and confirmed that what I was reading was correct. And we looked at that, and I showed her that 85% of the vehicles are only doing, I think it was what, maybe 1-2 miles over the speed limit in the 85th percentile, which then tells me that's a perception issue. If there are those ones and twos that at 2-3 o'clock in the morning that are going to do 80-90 miles an hour, we know that those do occur, but those are hard to combat because they're so infrequent and so spaced out that dedicating resources, it's hit and miss.
Okay.
Does that
So,
answer your question?
yes, that did. It triggers my memory that you look at the speed of the 85% of the people, that average, and compare that with the posted speed limit, and make recommendations and or whatever based upon that information.
Correct. So for instance, if O'Neill turns up that it is literally a speedway, I will be able to know and determine through those speed surveys what time of the day that is, so that I can get my officers out on an overtime grant, which we have, to go out there during that period of time, as opposed to putting them out there for 12 hours and just hoping that we hit them,
Correct.
those speeders at some point. It helps refine dedicating resources to the problem.
Exactly. It's allocating resources most efficiently. The second thing I wanted to bring up goes back to the right turn only situation on near Kaiser Station. And I have not seen that sign lit. That's not the issue. But I noticed if I'm heading eastbound on, correct me if I name this street incorrectly, I don't have my map up. I think it's Lock Haven there? Shamawa, yeah. Shamawa turning right just past the railroad tracks. There's a posted sign saying no right-hand turn, no turn on red, pardon me. Are you familiar with that one? I was trying to understand the justification of that sign. So again, you're heading eastbound toward 99. And
Yeah,
you
we
want to
did
turn
talk about
right
that in the
just past the railroad tracks to do the loop into Kaiser Station. There's a sign up there saying no turn on red.
You're west of the tracks?
No, I'm not. I'm on eastbound Shamawa.
So you're west of the tracks? Just before the tracks.
Just after the tracks is the turn.
I think that's been fixed. I think when they came in and placed the electronic device that says no turn on red, they replaced that for both eastbound, one going into the jug handle, one coming out of the jug handle.
I would respectfully disagree with you. Let's do a research and see if I'm incorrect, because I often am. So I was just wondering why it's there and if it's needed.
The reason, if I recall, had to do with because cars are coming, they're going to have to cross lanes. Somebody's coming out, making that right on red and trying to get into a
No,
left
on this one,
lane,
if
and the
you're in
other people are
right
trying
lane of Shamal, it's just a right turn into
to
the
where?
road that leads to Kaiser Station. There's no cross traffic. You can't exit Kaiser Station and cross Shamawa, so there's no conflict there. That's what's causing me to go, huh?
See, I thought you were talking the one coming out of Kaiser Station.
No, that one's been
'Cause
corrected.
yeah, I was gonna say, I was just there the other day, and that one has been corrected, so, but you're
Good
talking
job.
the
But
other
you're
one.
talking about
okay.
coming,
Are you
coming
talk-
across I-5 and then turning right
No,
into?
the other direction.
On Eulalie?
For whatever reason, people want to leave Kaiser, and this is heading eastbound, not westbound.
Oh, and then
Off of
turning
Jamala
just
Road.
after the tracks turning?
Correct.
Oh,
When I go home tonight, I'll look at it,
Okay.
and then I'll
The
send an email to
last
Debbie
thing I
tomorrow.
have is you were going to investigate the post office boxes on the sidewalk just before the underpass under the railroad bridges heading in toward the Kaiser Station. If you remember correctly, you said that's on your daily run, and the boxes are right on the sidewalk, and it's a narrow area, and I don't know if anyone in a wheelchair could get by without going into the gravel or dirt.
I know what you're talking about, but I have not done anything with that. I don't remember what I was supposed to
Okay.
do, except other than measure, to make sure that there was 3 feet of distance between the edge of the concrete and the side of the box,
Yeah.
which is what the ADA requires.
Have you done that?
I have not,
Okay,
sorry.
no worries.
Make a list of that, too.
I am finished. Thank you for your time.
do the committee members, have any questions or any other items to report that you didn't mention before?
I just wanted to follow up on your, follow up on your comment about the gateway into Wallace Park, how narrow it is. Because that's always been kind of an issue for me. I use that little walkway a lot, and it really is kind of skinny. So I think it would be helpful if we could take those little flanges out
Oh,
on the fence.
well, I'll try to mention that, and then when I talk with Bill. Okay, we will move on to staff report, Mr. Griffin.
A couple things, our resurfacing program, have you seen, Lock Haven and Shamawa has been newly painted black, and that project's gone really, really well. The guys were working nights there for a week straight, and it was, they really didn't inconvenience people, and we didn't get many calls, and so everything went really well with that project. They've shifted over to Verta Lane right now, and they paved a lot today from Dearborn to the Parkway, so headed south. Tomorrow, they will set back and do the other from Dearborn on the other side and go back to the Parkway. So they'll be done with the paving tomorrow with Verta, and then they have some cleanup and some mailboxes to adjust and some manholes and whatnot, which they'll follow up with next week. So then both those projects will be done. A couple other resurfacing projects in the Gupser neighborhood won't start till the second week of school, just because the way summer got busy and our contractor has to push off and head somewhere else, and then they'll come back and finish up Kaiser. So that's it for the resurfacing. And as far as the eclipse that's coming up, we're just on standby. We're not sure what exactly the impact's going to be, and we're just going to be ready to handle and take on anything that be available.
Cloudy day.
So that's all I got.
It'll still be
Mike?
dark.
I have a question that, and I was thinking about the other day. Do we have in the city, any system or method of repainting 20 feet of some lines? It seems like a lot of the corners where everybody cuts the corner, that by this time of the year, some of them, there's no yellow line or hardly any yellow line left. So once it rains, it's gone. But the whole line doesn't need to be repainted. You need about maybe 30 feet of it needs to be repainted yellow or white or whatever. Do we do that?
The county's out right now doing all our striping. And so they will hit those spots. And some of those areas you're talking about, the striper can't get that close to the curb. And so it might not get hit. And then we have our contractor, our private contractor come out. And if we're aware of those spots, we'll take care of them. And another thing we'll do is we can put them down in thermoplastic, which lasts a lot longer.
Okay,
But that's kind of, there's a cost to that. And so a lot of times they'll get painted over. But if you have a certain area in particular you're talking about, I'll be sure.
wasn't particular, but I just
Okay.
noticed today several places where it's just wearing out. But just, you know.
Well, it's
10
old.
Yeah. I'll bring my spray can out.
I have a question. So it came up at National Night Out, and I apologize if someone has mentioned this at council or other. What about the streetlights during eclipse? They're just gonna stay, they'll come on because it's dark? I mean, normally, obviously, they come on at dusk or 9 o'clock now, 10 o'clock, whenever they come on in the evening, but what about the morning?
There's nothing being done or.
Okay.
It's just as a normal day.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
But so does that mean that are they,
Don't come on.
they'll come on if it gets dark enough, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
They have a photo cell that when it's dark, they're on.
And they should come on.
Ah, might ruin my view.
Unless we shimmy up each pole and.
It's gonna be a good length of time, you know, good length of time to see it. 2 minutes when you can actually watch it without any glasses.
Anything else, Mike? Okay. Trevor Wenning.
Thank you. We used the bike pump for a transient person who was out in front of our building sleeping, and I couldn't really ride away because his bike tires were flat. And so we went ahead and used it, and kudos to Mike, because when we used it for the first time, there was an air leak, so we couldn't really pump up the tires. So we went to our internally and pumped them up, and then sent Mike the email, and he had it fixed in no time, and so that was great. So we appreciate his help on that. We had coffee with a cop last Tuesday, and that turned out to be a great success. It's supposed to be an 1.5 to 2 hour venture, and I was there for almost 3 hours, and a lot of that has to do with traffic-related issues. So it was good. People could come in there, and as opposed to taking their time coming to the committee where it's a little bit more formal, they could come in, have coffee, have some cake, and chat about their issues on their streets. So that worked out really well. Mike brought up the eclipse. We've got our folks in place for pretty much containment. We're probably not going to do a lot of enforcement of things just because we just don't have simply the resources. I mean, 5 guys can't handle 300 people, so it's going to be challenging. But with that said, we have brought Sergeant Dave Leday back to our spare motorcycle. And so we went on a training ride today, refamiliarization. So he and I will be more likely than not predominantly stationed at Windsor Island Shoreline and Shamawa there, because that's one big cul-de-sac where a majority of our folks are going to be. In addition to that, probably over by Kaiser Station for the Volcanoes events. And then I was notified this week, which I didn't know about, that St. Edward's Church is trying to get about 200 campsites behind their property. So we are working in different areas of the city to provide on motorcycles, but there's only 2 of us, so at least we've got that going for us. Been working with Crystal Springs, Inland Shores, and Whispering Pines, which is Sagrada Circle is another name for Whispering Pines, and Kaiser Elementary, because we've had the congestion problem, the parking in the bicycle lanes, the trespassing of parents driving into and around the fountain at Crystal Springs to come back out onto McClure. And we had a meeting on Tuesday with the HOA president, the new principal at Kaiser Elementary, and myself. And we've determined that this is a decades-old problem that's probably not going to go away. The school was there before the neighborhoods. Short of putting in gates, which doesn't sound like the HOA wants to do for Crystal Springs there, we're going to try. The school district is going to buy a couple signs that say Kaiser Elementary traffic, turn left into the school. It's going to be a challenge for them to see those signs because the cars parking along the curb lines and such. The other option, the HOA president is going to work with some of their folks internally to see if they could create a volunteer corps that for 9 months out of the year, for an hour or half hour during the afternoon, kind of man that intersection on their physical private property and stop people who are coming into the property, turning them around if they don't belong, if they're simply turn them around before they get into the actual private property, because it is posted no trespassing through an Oregon revised statute. So been working with that. We've come to some, because I know Mayor Clark was CC'd on everything, because one of the gentlemen who's the main complainant didn't like my answer to, I mean, I gave him all the information that what we've done, and it really does come down to funding. The school district changing the layout of the school to allow more cars into their property, funding for them to put either a manned person there or a gate, because it is truly premise open to the public. It's private property, but it's designed for the roto-rooter guy, the landscape, the realtor to come into that property. So law enforcement doesn't really have a lot of say in preventing them from going in there. And on the other hand, we also don't want to be arresting some 16-year-old kid who's just picking up his brother and didn't realize and made the loop around and came back out. So the reason why I'm taking a lot of time on that is because that might come back up to this committee at some point. Currently, we're working on the DUI grant, speed grant, click it ticket campaigns coming up here August 21st through September 3rd. So you'll see some extra bodies out there enforcing the DUI. I do have a couple overtime slots for the Eclipse weekend for the DUI and also for Labor Day weekend. That Eclipse will also be during the click it or ticket campaign, so we're hoping people are, when they do leave, they are wearing their seatbelts, because that's part of that, and not texting and speeding. So I think that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Yes,
So
Counselor.
Trevor, with St. Ed's, last I heard, they weren't going to do camping, but they were going to help with the event at Kaiser Rapids with overflow parking. So has that changed?
So Linda Pantalone from CERT, Kaiser CERT, sent me an email a week and a half ago, which was just a link. And it was talking about having up to 200 campsites, campers on their property. Subsequent to that, I on Coffee with a Cop had mentioned, Jeff, the fire chief, had mentioned that they had just approved a permit process for St. Ed's. So I didn't ask him much more than that. I just overheard the comment. So I don't know much more than that. I am just anticipating that that's going to be another area where Claggett Street dumps into River Road from that west side that might be a little congested.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, our next meeting is September 14th. And I guess with that, I will call this meeting adjourned.